Good evening and thanks for joining us. Disagreement over a natural gas pipeline in northern BC is again disrupting trade and travel in this country. A key rail line in southern Ontario is still blocked by people showing solidarity for opponents of the Coastal GasLink pipeline that crosses traditional territory of the Wet'suwet'en people. And today a new blockade went up on the CN rail line just west of Winnipeg. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, traveling in West Africa, said today protesters must obey the law.
We recognize the important democratic right, and we will always defend it, of peaceful protest. This is an important part of our democracy in Canada, but we're also a country of the rule of law, and we need to make sure those laws are respected.
But police have not moved in to remove the protesters. Hundreds of freight trains and Via Rail passenger trains are sitting idle for a seventh day. And this happened to Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland today. She was blocked from entering Halifax City Hall by self-described land defenders who refused to make room for her. She did eventually manage to slip inside and then had this to say.
It is very important for all people in Canada, including government officials, to be able to go about their rightful and legitimate business, even as other Canadians are expressing their right to peaceful protest.
How to resolve this remains the question, though. Indigenous rights can be a political minefield, and so is the complex issue of hereditary leadership within the Wet'suwet'en people. And who has the authority to say yes or no to a pipeline? Michael Couteur has our top story tonight.
For nearly a week, one of Canada's busiest rail corridors has been ground to a halt by the Tyendinaga Mohawk blockade. It's in support of the Wet'suwet'en Nation protesting the proposed Coastal GasLink pipeline in northern BC. And there's now a second camp a little further down the rail line.
The only way to get Canada to stop for a second and to say, hey, what are we doing, is to stop their money, right?
Politicians have taken notice and say the economic impact is real.
Do we have a report that there's been an excess of 100 trains that have been held back, if you will? Well, I can only surmise that a number of those trains have energy on them, Saskatchewan energy. I can only surmise that a number of those trains will have Saskatchewan potash on them.
The federal transport minister is calling on protesters to respect court injunctions that were supposed to end the demonstrations.
So I can't accept more mail.
But this video posted of what Mohawks did to a previous injunction might foreshadow their response to any others.
There's the court injunction.
The RCMP has not moved in yet, and the finance minister is appealing to the protesters on behalf of all Canadians.
We think about the people impact. I mean, people can't get to the places they want to go if they're impeded to use the rail system. And of course, we always need to remember that a lot of our food in our country goes by rail.
My advice to the Crown would be to establish a process with Wet'suwet'en peoples.
The National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations is imploring the Crown to start a dialogue. Perry Bellegarde says the government must sit down with both the Wet'suwet'en band councils who support the pipeline project and the hereditary chiefs who oppose it.
Get into the big house and feast. We have our own processes to resolve disputes. Go back to that. Use ceremony, use our elders, use our traditions to bring about a resolvement to this issue.
Still, there are many in the community who want the pipeline and say the hereditary chiefs and the protesters don't speak for everyone.
We need jobs. Like, if you go in one place where you're isolated and everything, you know, the band can only, get so much job.
Tate worries that he and many others who support the pipeline won't be heard because of the protests across the country. Michael Couture, Global News, Ottawa.
Who speaks for the Wet'suwet'en people and who has authority over the 22,000 square kilometres of land in northern BC is not straightforward. There's confusion and misunderstanding. And there's word a call has gone out for a meeting of Wet'suwet'en leaders to resolve it. The divide is between some hereditary chiefs who are organized by clan and anchored in cultural traditions, and band councils created under the Indian Act who are elected to represent the people on reserves. Some hereditary chiefs oppose the pipeline and believe they have authority over the territory, which has never been ceded and is not subject to a treaty. But all 20 elected band councils along the route, including 5 elected Wet'suwet'en band councils, representing about 2,800 people, support the pipeline and have signed benefit agreements with Coastal GasLink. Both Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and BC Premier John Horgan back the terminal and the pipeline.
There's a misunderstanding broadly of what hereditary leadership is, and we're working hard to figure that out. The vast majority of people in that territory want to see progress, and I believe that they have to figure that out.
If completed, the Coastal GasLink pipeline would supply natural gas to LNG Canada, which is building an $18 billion terminal in Kitimat, BC. It would export liquefied natural gas to Asia.